Hello everyone, welcome to join Pearson Edexcel International GCSE Chinese Examination Insight May-June 2024 session for 4CN1 specification. My name is Hongmei Zhang. I am the Chief Examiner for the specification 4CN1 and I am also the Principal Examiner for Paper 2, which is Reading and Writing. This session is designed to share some feature of performance in summer 2024 across papers. It will also give some way that students can focus on their performance. There will be some messages which can be applied to all series. By the end of the session, we will look at the performance of candidates this summer. We are going to consider the variation of candidates' performance on different questions and explore why performance varies. We are also going to look at the key points from the examiner's reports and address some common issues. Overall, students performed very well on Paper 1, Paper 2, and Paper 3, which is a credit to all teachers and students. It was clear that most students were very well prepared and responded readily to most of the questions. It was also clear that students had the key skills to complete the papers in the time allocated, answering all the questions, or at the very least, focusing their time on where they can achieve most marks. Here we can see this year's grade boundaries. In today's session, we are going to use the following materials: the specification, mark schemes, exam papers for paper 1 and 2, and examiner's reports. If you can have all these documents by hand, it may be very helpful. Now we're going to look at the structure of paper 1. You may find the question paper and the mark scheme in your training pack. The question paper consists of 7 questions, which all questions and instructions provided in English. Students are required to write the responses in English, while correct spelling and grammatical accuracy are not mandatory. However, the responses must be comprehensible. Question 1 and 2 are matching questions. Question 4 is a 3-column matching question. Many students did quite well in these questions and scored very high marks or full marks. Question 5 and 6 are multiple choice questions. Students are required to listen to both factual and non-factual material of varying lengths in different contexts and select the correct answers. Most students performed quite well on question 5, but lost some marks on question 6, which required a higher proficiency in Chinese. However, all these questions did not pose significant difficulty for most students. As a result, today's session will focus on questions 3 and 7, which seemed to be more challenging. And now on the screen, you can see the first example we've got for question 3. The candidate was awarded 1 mark for question B and 1 mark for question E only. The question A is awarded 0 marks because we would like to see the answer 11:30 a.m. At GCSE level, if the students are asked to answer a question about a time, we would expect them to answer with the time in the morning or in the afternoon. And for question D, the candidate didn't gain a mark because the candidate only gave a part of the answer. The correct answer is computer games or video games. Now we look at sample B for question 3. The candidate gained 1 mark for question A because the answer is clearly correct, 11:30 in the morning. And B, question B, the candidate gained 2 marks. And unfortunately for question C, the candidate didn't get a mark. Online gaming is not the correct answer. The correct answer is computer games. Online gaming and computer games are not the same, although they can overlap. So D and E, the candidates scored 1 mark each. So the final marks for this candidate is 1 plus 2 plus 0 plus 1 and plus 1. The candidate only lost 1 mark for question C. Now we look at question 7, the most challenging question of the listening paper, which requires candidates to identify advantages and disadvantages from a densely packed dialogue. Now we look at the sample A. Before we start, you may pause the recording to look at the mark scheme and the question paper. So for question A, the candidate is awarded 1 mark. Air conditioner is the correct answer. For question B, practice is not spelled correctly. It's risk of losing marks if it is read as parties. To bear in mind, grammar and spelling are not tested in the exam. However, if it causes any misunderstanding or ambiguity, students will not be awarded marks. However, in this case, 1 mark was awarded. Question C, the candidate is also awarded 1 mark. D, the candidate was also awarded a 1 mark. And E, the candidate was also awarded 1 mark. Question F, for question F, the candidate was not awarded a mark because the information is not specific. For the question 7 sample B, it's quite straightforward. The candidate is awarded 1 mark for A, 1 mark for B, 1 mark for C, 1 mark for D, and 1 mark for E. For question F, the candidate was awarded a 0 mark because the information is not accurate and specific. So therefore, it is very important to give specific information. Now, let's look at the structure of the paper 2. You may find the question paper and the mark scheme in the training pack. The paper is available in both traditional and simplified character versions, and students must choose one. It consists of 2 sections, A and B. Section A contains 5 reading questions, while Section B has 3 questions, 2 writing tasks, and a translation task. Students are given 1 hour and 45 minutes to complete the paper. Section A includes question 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. The 5 questions are designed to assess students' abilities to comprehend and use information from various texts. The question formats including multiple choice, word drop, matching, note-taking, and short answer questions. All the questions are in English, and students must answer in English. English grammatical accuracy is not assessed in this section. In question 1, 2, and 3, in general, candidates or students performed quite well this year. Question 4 is the main focus for now. Question 4 is a note-taking task. Students are required to read a text and comprehend a set of notes with 10 gaps. Performance on this question varied significantly this year. Some native Chinese speakers understood the text quite well, but struggled to gain marks due to their weaker English skills. Now you may pause the recording and spend some time to read the text and the mark scheme, and later we're going to mark the sample question 4 together. In this sample, the candidate was awarded 1 mark for question B, 1 mark for question C, 1 mark for question D, and 1 mark for question E, and 1 mark for another question. So in total, the candidate was awarded 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 marks. So for question A, novels is the correct answer. So the candidate was not awarded a mark for question A. For question F, all ages is the correct answer. So the candidate was not awarded any marks. So question G, 1.8 meters or 180 centimeters are the correct answer. So this is not the right answer, what the candidate was responded to. Question I, young people is the correct answer. Question J, school team captain is the correct answer. So in this question, the candidate was not able to gain more marks because of the inaccurate answers. Before we start looking at question 5, you may want to pause the recording and to read the text and the mark scheme. Question 5 involves reading a longer passage and responding to a series of questions in English. Students need to understand the original text and use English to demonstrate their comprehension. Like question 4, this year, some native Chinese speakers understood the text, but still lost marks due to serious spelling or grammatical errors that caused confusion. A very small number of students answered the question in Chinese this year. We now look at the sample for question 5. The candidate lost 3 marks in the following 3 questions, B, D, and J. In question B, downstairs is the keyword in the answer. And for question D, church or cathedral is the correct answer. So we wouldn't accept any words like a hall or any other answers, not reassembly hall. Some candidates even answered with this year. And then for question J, interesting people is the correct answer. So we have to bear in mind sometimes some candidates misunderstood funny and misuse the word funny Okay, so we wouldn't accept funny people. In this part of the exam, teachers must emphasize to students that all answers must be written in English. Responses in Pinyin or Chinese will not be awarded any marks. When preparing students for this section, it is crucial to focus on understanding key question words. For example, recognizing the question word "who" will help students identify that they need to look for information about a person in the text. Additionally, students should be aware that questions will follow the sequence of the text, which can aid in locating the relevant information. Lastly, students should know that full sentences are not really required for these answers. Now we're going to look at some questions that students made some common mistakes this year. In paper 2, we're going to look at questions 3, 6, 7, and 8. In paper 3, we're going to look at task A, task B, and task C. We are also going to look at the ways how to avoid making these mistakes. For this sample for question 3, the student was awarded 7 marks out of 8 marks. So we have to emphasize that students have to read the instructions carefully. Students are expected to choose 8 answers. However, some students ticked fewer or more than 8 answers this year. In section B, question 6, students are required to write 60 to 75 characters on a topic. Students are aided by 4 bullet points given in both English and Chinese, to which they must refer in their writing. Students' responses are assessed for communication and content, linguistic knowledge and accuracy. This year, most students answered the question quite well, demonstrating their ability to write about their favorite food. Even some weaker students performed reasonably well, as they could get some support from the reading passages in the paper and the bullet points in writing. However, a few students failed to write any full sentences. They merely copied the questions out or answered the questions in note form. Several students did not even attempt the question at all and left the page blank. The main problem for the more able students was that they simply forgot to address all the 4 bullet points. Addressing all 4 bullet points is required. For this sample, for question 6, the marks awarded were 3 plus 2. 3 marks for communication and content, 2 marks for linguistic knowledge and accuracy. The students incorporated the given Chinese characters 家 and 希望 to answer the question in some detail. The response is structured around the stimulus phrases, and the overall structure is generally logical and sensible. The student demonstrated the ability to express some basic ideas and opinions as appropriate to the task. While the piece is generally coherent, the flow of ideas is sometimes disrupted, which affects clarity. As a result, the piece was awarded 3 marks for communication and content. In order to achieve higher marks, students should provide more detailed responses to support their points of view. For linguistic knowledge and accuracy, the students demonstrated some ability to use simple sentences. They effectively used 因为 and 所以, which was credited as part of a range of sentence structures. However, there were some errors in character formation and repetition, and also some pinyin were used. As a result, the piece was awarded 2 marks for linguistic knowledge and accuracy. In order to achieve higher marks, students should avoid errors in character formation and use a wider variety of structures more accurately. For question 7, students select one writing task from a choice of 3 and are expected to write a continuous response of 125 to 150 characters. Students are also provided with 4 bullet points given in both English and Chinese, to which they must refer to. These are given to help them structure their answer. Students' responses are assessed for communication and content, linguistic knowledge, and accuracy. It is crucial that students spend sufficient time reading the questions to make sure that they understand the bullet points and choose a question that they fully understand and can produce a piece of writing of the correct length. Now let's look at this sample for question 7. This sample, the candidate was awarded 7 plus 6. Communication and content was awarded 7 marks. Language and accuracy was awarded 6 marks. For communication and content, all 4 bullet points were tackled using a logical sequence that is generally appropriate. The students showed moderate ability to organize their response and developed points relevant to the tasks. The response demonstrated some ability to express ideas in a form that would be comprehensible to a native speaker who is patient with learners. There are some instances of unclear meaning, such as 最喜欢的吃 which could have been 最喜欢的食物 and 到更多新朋友 which likely mean 认识更多新朋友. As the students struggled with writing some Chinese characters overall, however, the answer is clear. The response was placed in level 4 and 7 marks were awarded for communication and content. For linguistic knowledge and accuracy, a satisfactory range of vocabulary was attempted. Although the sentence structures are simple, the students had successfully used some nouns, verbs, and adjectives. There is clear evidence of basic character formation, showing the students' familiarity with writing Chinese characters. The range of vocabulary and structures is not narrow, making this piece better than the 3 to 4 mark band. The language often aligns with the 5 to 6 marks band and descriptors in terms of vocabulary and structure, so a mark of 6 was awarded for linguistic knowledge and accuracy. For question 8, students are expected to translate 4 separate sentences from English to Chinese. This year, most students performed quite well in question 8A and 8B. A lot of students scored 4 marks. However, some students lost 1 mark as errors in forming characters, which hindered clarity. Some students scored full marks in 8C and 8D. Some students used mostly accurate linguistic structures and vocabulary, but errors prevented meaning being conveyed, which meant they lost 1 or 2 marks. Now let's look at question 8, sample A. This candidate was awarded 2 marks for 8A, 2 marks for 8B, 3 marks for 8C, and 2 marks for 8D. The reason why in question 8D 1 mark was deducted because the adjective pleased was not translated correctly. For this sample, sample B for question 8. Question 8A, the candidate was awarded 1 mark because park and the garden were mixed up. For question B, the subject is missing, therefore 1 mark was awarded. Question 8C, the characters of tree and wood were mixed up, therefore 2 marks were awarded for this question. For question 8D, 1 mark was awarded because the word order was not correct. Also, there were some grammatical errors. Now let's look at paper 3, speaking. There are 3 tasks, A, B, and C in this speaking paper, covering 3 different topics. It should be noted that teachers act as teacher examiners in this paper, and the correct conduct of the oral exams by the teacher examiner has a large impact on students' performance. Some teachers, unfortunately, this year, failed to follow the International GCSE Language Conducting Assessment Administrative Support Guide. You may find the guide on the website. Here is the link. For task A, it is a picture-based discussion which should last 2 to 3 minutes. Students provide a picture that fulfills the criteria set out in the specification. The picture must contain the following elements: at least 2 people, objects as background information, and people do things, that is, interactions. Teacher examiners must ask each student 5 questions in total on the picture. On these slides, you can see on the left is the example randomization grade. Based on the topic chosen for the picture-based discussion, task A, the teacher examiner will use the randomization grade to select the discussion topics for the first and the second conversations, task B and C. If conducting more than 5 tests in a day, return to the beginning of the sequence after the 5th candidate. If conducting tests on more than 1 day, start each new day at the beginning of the sequence. And on the right, you can see there are 5 topic areas. All 5 topic areas and their subtopic areas can be found in page 11 of the International GCSE Chinese specification. Each speaking examination should cover 3 different topics from these 5 topic areas. Please bear in mind subtopics A3, C3, C5, D2, and E4 are not assessed in any of the tasks. Now we're going to look at sample 1 for task A. This year, some students' marks were negatively impacted by their teacher examiners during the speaking examination. Unfortunately, these examiners failed to ask questions that effectively showcased the students' speaking ability. There are 5 required question types that should be asked to each student. Type 1. Ask the student to describe what they see in the picture. Type 2. Request specific, factual information about the picture. Type 3. Ask a question about the past or future related to the picture. Type 4. Seek the student's opinions about a subject related to the picture. Type 5. Pose a question that allows the students to provide a value judgment. Also, please bear in mind, irrelevant or inappropriate questions in this section can negatively impact the student's performance. Now you may pause this recording and listen to the sample 1 in your training pack. Now you have finished the recording, and then I would like to let you know that the marks awarded for these candidates is 2 + 2. This recording for task A lasts for 2 minutes and 51 seconds, which is the right time length. However, the teacher examiner didn't follow the correct instructions in the guides. The teacher asked the students 15 questions, and the students asked the teacher 1 question. So this examination was not conducted correctly. Now we're going to look at sample 2. We will be focusing on task B and C. This year, generally speaking, students performed better overall in task B and C than task A. Students were granted higher marks if they could communicate smoothly with their interviewers, showing no difficulties in response to a wide range of questions, as well as confidently express personal opinions. Now you may pause this recording and listen to sample 2 in your training pack. Now you have finished listening to the recording in your training pack, and you can see in this sample the recording lasts for 4 minutes and 50 seconds, and apparently task C is missing. Therefore, half of the marks were awarded. The final marks awarded for this sample is 6 + 6 + 2. In conclusion, teacher examiners play a crucial role in the exam and should thoroughly review the instructions for conducting examinations. They are encouraged to organize their questions and structure them clearly during the conversation. Questions should be kept short and simple to give students the opportunity to demonstrate their speaking abilities and achieve high marks. The effectiveness of the teacher examiner's questioning technique is a key factor in the success of the conversation. It directly impacts the content and the flow of the conversation. Clear, structured, appropriate, and logical questions are essential for helping students reach their potential. Thank you for attending today's session.